What are impermanent losses, and how can it be mitigated? One of the weak points of most liquidity pools is impermanent loss. In this video, we're going to explain this concept and how this type of loss affects your earnings as a liquidity provider. If you're new to the channel, we recommend that you first watch the video about what liquidity pools are. Liquidity pools are a solution that arises from the need to exchange different cryptocurrencies in a decentralized and automatic way. For a financial market to function properly, the figure of market makers is needed. These entities provide liquidity to allow transactions to run uninterrupted. In the case of liquidity pools, it is the users who can provide liquidity to the market, acting as decentralized market makers and thus earning a small commission for each transaction in the pool. There are several types of liquidity pool, differentiated by the algorithm used to manage liquidity. The most common is the constant product market maker, which is based on keeping the product of the total number of tokens in a pool constant. This algorithm is prone to what is known as impermanent loss, which is the theoretical loss of capital between the value of an asset if it has been held, for example, in a wallet, and the value of that same asset if you wanted to withdraw it from the pool of liquidity. Impermanent loss occurs when the price of one of the tokens rises or falls with respect to the other. Next, we are going to put an example to better understand this concept. Let's imagine that the market price of 1 Ether is 100 DAI. Bob deposits 1 Ether in 100 DAI. That is a value of $200 in a liquidity pool that uses the constant product market maker algorithm. With this deposit, the pool accumulates a total of 10 Ether and 1,000 DAI from other liquidity providers, which makes Bob the owner of 10% of the LP tokens. Any difference between the value of an asset in the pool and the value of the same asset in the global market causes arbitrageurs to try to acquire that asset below the global market price. After a while, in global markets, the value of 1 Ether is equivalent to 400 DAI. That is 400% compared to the original value when Bob deposited his assets in the pool. This rise in the price of Ether compared to the DAI causes the pool ratio to change accordingly. After this change in the value of Ether with respect to the DAI, a total of 5 Ether and 2,000 DAI are remaining in the liquidity pool. The product of these tokens is still 10,000, and the ratio has changed from 100 DAI for each Ether to 400 DAI for each Ether. If Bob decided to claim the cryptocurrencies from him now, he would get 10% of the total pool. That is 0.5 Ether and 200 DAI, without taking into account what he obtained with the commissions collected from the transactions. This equates to a total value of $400, a huge increase over the $200 he originally deposited. But if Bob had kept his assets in his wallet, he would still have 1 Ether and 100 DAI, giving him a total value of $500. The difference is known as an impermanent loss, and in this case, it is equivalent to $100 for Bob. It is known as the impermanent loss because until the assets are withdrawn, it is not permanent, since if the asset ratio returns to its original state, Bob will continue with the same number of assets as when he deposited, and there would be no type of impermanent loss. Previously, we have not taken into account the commissions obtained from transactions in the pool, nor the extra tokens that can be obtained in liquidity mining. But if we take them into account, these can completely mitigate the impermanent loss. For example, if Bob had obtained fees for a value greater than $100, his profit would be greater than that of having kept his cryptocurrencies. As we have observed, impermanent loss is dictated by the change in the value of one asset relative to another, and the greater it is, the greater this possible loss will be. There are platforms that use different methods to mitigate the impermanent loss, where they offer liquidity pools where the assets are very stable among themselves, such as USDT, DAI pools, or pools that use a different value ratio than the 50-50 standard. At Yielding, you can participate in a wide range of DeFi opportunities through smart contracts and start generating passive income like never before, easy and transparent. We encourage you to be part of this new revolution. Follow us and like us to learn more about DeFi. Also, you can visit the link in the video description to register on our platform and start generating passive income in the DeFi ecosystem.